And when I look at the back of her hair, I want to make sure that it's kind of draping and veiling over top so that we have these sparkles of color kind of coming in from the top. Her heart-shaped sectioning. And then I just took 2 sections, one on either side, parting away her entire face frames. So this section can get thicker or thinner based upon how much brightness you want to incorporate in these ends right here, or how much depth you want to incorporate in this middle section right here, okay, in the interior. Because what happens there is as her natural break happens, her hair is going to break off, not break off literally, but part and separate from the center. So you want to go higher in the center, and it's going to create 2 diagonal backs when it separates. And the reason being is that this is going to look like more flecks of color and create kind of a nice blend. One is going to have a bit more depth coming through, and you're going to gradually work your way to bolder and bolder blonde. So in this section, I am going to leave out a slice of depth here, and then my slice up here, this entire slice, is going to be another inverted V. Now, if you split this into 2 sections, this side would be a diagonal back, and this side would be a diagonal back. But because we're including this all in one section, we need to think about our painting patterns and what effect we really want them to have. So it's going to come up slightly higher in the center. And so now I'm just barely wisping my lightener through there, but I'm getting a really heavy saturation where I want more lift. And then a gentle, just kind of soft feathering up. And I like that she has a little bit of blonder pieces on the ends, but really because her bangs are going to be quite a bit shorter, I'm looking at that middle part of where her bangs are going to lie, and that it's going to be nice and deep right there. So now this section, because it's considered not like a balayage section with a painting pattern, and it's more of that heavy weave pickup, and some of this is still dark over here. There's only a little bit of previous blonde there. But because this is the heavy weave pickup part, I do want this to come higher up and create like a little soft glow right there, and then pressing the product in the rest of the way. So I actually feel like it would be in my best interest to section this into 2 sections and do 2 diagonal backs. And if it is still too thick, you could take 2 sections, or if you feel confident that after you tease this section, there is like less hair to have to really push the product through, and you'll be able to get like a really nice even lift, you could do that. But I definitely feel like I wanted to separate these sections and really be intentional about exactly where I'm painting this money piece and these diagonal backs, and be a really big, beautiful, bold burst of blonde sitting on the top of the bang section, kind of like what you see right here, if you have a little hint into what that might look like. Placing the hair, and a nice, very steep, from higher up to a lot lower down, diagonal back. So we really want to shift our thinking and think about these little ribbons of depth underneath we're going to utilize so that we can really, really emphasize the haircut. And because I want this to be more of that mermaid shag look, I'm going to go really bold in these areas versus just a little bit of tipping. And I'm going to kind of keep referring back to that as we work up through the head, and you'll see why we kind of change patterns and how we kind of work even more organically as we work through. Now I'm going to divide this in half, and this is going to be my heavy weave pickup and my final diagonal back. So for my heavy weave pickup, I want to make sure that I'm grabbing this front corner piece to help tie everything in, and I'm actually going to do a really heavy weave, like extremely heavy weave. So I'm going to do that weave lower down, not really up high and tight, but lower and deeper. And all that does is it allows me to pick up more of those feathery bits of hair. I mean, gosh, like saturation is definitely important when you're hand painting or freehand painting, but it's also just as important with foliage, but in a different way. Like there's a lot of saturation and going all the way through a section. Okay, I'm really separating out that hair, making sure that you don't get a big clump of hair that you're trying to fight and saturate through. So sometimes if you're feeling like your haircut's just falling a little bit flat, it doesn't have the dimension that it needs to. So you really got to think through your haircuts when you're highlighting them and really, really think through like, what is the story I'm telling on this client, as opposed to just kind of robotically doing your highlight placement. This is where it allows you to get really organic, and this is what kind of will even inspire you further in your career. I really feel like when you come up with new creative techniques on the fly because it's just the right answer, you're kind of like you exercising that creative muscle in a different way. Because the fastest death of like a hairdresser's career is them just being like burnt out and uninspired. So dissecting every haircut and treating it like an individual is the best way, I think, to really stay inspired. So I'm grabbing this last point here because it's kind of the longest point on her shag, making sure that I tease that and emphasize it. So once we could put a line across the bottom, it's going to become 2 half moon sections that create these beautiful little pockets of depth. So not only is it cute, but it's functional. I would go in with ultra fine baby lights and boom, boom, boom. Just a few foils of ultra fine baby lights. And that's incredible for when they have tons and tons of layers, because if you highlight this area too much, it kind of can just look like it stops, right? And it can look actually even a little bit awkward if you're putting tons and tons of color up at the top. So we really want to be intentional about it still being just those feathers of color, and being a little bit consistent. So for her, I'm actually going to go in and just do like kind of a regular weave pickup as opposed to either a baby light or a heavy weave pickup, just somewhere in between. So you can do a slight tease, but remember, it will turn your weave into more of a baby light effect up at the top if you just do too much of a tease in those highlights. Painting straight across, making sure I'm not going higher up than what that initial money piece was. And I'm able to take this nice bold pickup because I know she's got those little kind of Mickey Mouse ears of depth in the front of this section. So all of those pockets of depth need to be very intentional and very purposeful because you're utilizing the depth just as much as you're utilizing that brightness. I'm really excited to share this technique just because I feel like it's definitely something that people have been asking me a lot about, how to color the shag, how to actually highlight a fringe section, because it is different. It is different than just longer hair that has that like swooping beautiful money piece. And we can still keep that same kind of feeling of the money piece and that same kind of effect, but now sitting on top of the hair where you can really, really utilize and see the most and get the most out of your color. I'm going to look at her front foils, see how far they've come, and we're going to rinse her at about a level 9. She doesn't have to be a full-blown 10, but like 9, even 9.5 would be just this beautiful, perfect, bright blonde, but we don't need to go all the way there. I'd love to just see some kind of pheomelanin left in the hair where there's just like that slight bit of warmth for the beautiful Shinefinity blush tone that I'm going to be using to sit on top of. It glides effortlessly through the hair, so your application can go really quick, and you can be really, really efficient. And you're just going to continue this process all throughout the hair. I'll do this back section, my next back section, and then the front 2 sections. So by adding it to her natural, it is still going to create an effect with just more glow, more shine, and a little bit of added tone. How her kind of money piece is coming from the top, which gives you this beautiful kind of halo of color. And look up. And yeah, and you can see the incredible shine that Shinefinity gave her. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you really, really stretch it and use it in a lot of different ways on a lot of different lengths and different styles of shag.